Remember in the 2000s when everyone believed they were destined to become a superstar, but reality shows like American Idol proved them wrong?
What the bloody hell was that? You have one of the weirdest voices I've ever heard in my life. You're not good at anything. Absolute no from me.
I can't sing either.
Unique! Woo!
And on that note, I'm going home.
At that point, karaoke wasn't anything new, but video games capitalized on the popularity of those reality shows with their own karaoke games. Konami had Karaoke Revolution, and Microsoft would later take on the genre with Lips for the Xbox 360, but none were as good as Sony's SingStar for the PlayStation series of consoles. It's still one of the best karaoke games you can play. SingStar is a karaoke game where 1 to 8 players match their pitch to the pitch of the song's lyrics on the screen for the ultimate high score. In comparison to other karaoke games on the market at the time, SingStar used actual licensed music with their official music videos if those songs had one. The few songs that didn't have a video had a custom video created. Plus, SingStar's pitch technology is more accurate than most music games on the market. Players had 3 difficulties to play with: easy, medium, and hard. The higher the difficulty, the more accurate the pitch had to be. Some songs even feature rap sections. And with multiple multiplayer modes, SingStar became a favorite among groups of players. When it came to the many releases of SingStar, Sony tailored various releases to specific regions. Multiple regions may have had the same game, but altered track listings depending on what artist or song is popular there. There are also numerous releases that never made it stateside. Likely due to PlayStation Studio London being located in Europe, that region had almost endless PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 releases. North America had its fair share of SingStar titles, but ultimately lacked in comparison. Even then, a lot of music featured had more prominent UK songs and artists. So for the sake of this video, I'll be focusing mostly on SingStar releases in North America, but we'll be talking about a number of releases released overseas, mainly in Europe. With over 115 SingStar releases throughout the world in over 15 different languages, SingStar truly was a successful PlayStation series, and it all began on the PlayStation 2. Before SingStar became what is known today, developers London Studio were working on a project that dealt with sound input and pitch detection. The idea was for a children's game, the first being Songlines, a third-person adventure game where the player would have to sing to unlock new environments. Another was Sing Along Safari, where players complete missions while singing along with animals. Both projects were scrapped in 2003 when the project had a monumental shift in development. Its focus turned to utilizing contemporary music videos with the use of 2 microphones. Its prototype used pitch detection technology with a basic interface display, a scoring system, and used samples of unlicensed music. The first demonstration of the game in Paris featured the songs Wonderwall by Oasis and Independent Women by Destiny's Child. This was the beginning of SingStar. SingStar would release its self-titled game in Europe in 2004. The game would come with 2 wired microphones, both black but one with red features and the other blue, with an adapter to plug into the PlayStation 2's USB port. These microphones weren't cheaply made either, and felt more authentic to hold and perform with than anything else. Adding in a PlayStation 2 iToy allowed players to record themselves singing or take snapshots and save them to the memory card for viewing later. In 2005, SingStar's inventiveness would even earn it a BAFTA award for originality. North America would get its first taste of SingStar in 2006 with SingStar Rocks. From there, the game would receive multiple releases over the next few years. Each SingStar release always centered around a different theme, with the tracks clearly reflecting this theme. SingStar Ant focused on rock music, SingStar 80s and 90s featured hit songs from those decades. The intro video for SingStar 80s even included Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, alongside an appearance from his son Jesse Blaze Snider, and yes, We're Not Gonna Take It is in the game. SingStar Pop received a follow-up with SingStar Pop Volume 2. SingStar Country dropped the models from its cover and replaced the cover art with actual featured country artists, and SingStar Legends was a showcase of some of the most legendary music artists of all time, from Madonna to David Bowie. All of these titles were exclusive to the PlayStation 2, and any further releases on the PS2 were multi-platform with the PS3. SingStar Latino, a game featuring Spanish music and artists, Spanish was even the language on the case, would be the final North American release in 2009, and any further PS2 games ceased to be released. Other regions continued to get various releases throughout 2010 due to the PS2's continued popularity. SingStar's fame even found its way into an exclusive SingStar PlayStation 2 pack. This bundle includes SingStar Pop, 2 microphones, and a limited edition ceramic white slim PlayStation 2 console and matching controller. At least in North America, this bundle was the only way to get a white PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 2's success was immense, lasting beyond a console's typical lifespan. It had a huge casual audience, and Sony capitalized on it with series like SingStar and Buzz. SingStar proved it was able to bring together friends and family, but this was only the beginning of SingStar's domination. The PlayStation 3 would push the series further into the wide world of online interactivity. The 7th generation of consoles brought in the era of HD graphics and online gaming across the board for everyone. SingStar would take high advantage of this. First announced at E3 2006, SingStar was announced for the new generation and included many new features and changes. The first was a new redesigned interface and menu. Gone were the white borders and in was a more modern and sleek design. Players could also change the background wallpaper, with either the wallpaper provided or upload their own photos through the PlayStation 3 for use. But the biggest addition were its online features. SingStar was built for online. Now it wasn't just sharing memories on the couch. My SingStar Online took inspiration from YouTube and Flickr and allowed players to upload videos and pictures taken with the PlayStation Eye or the PS2 iToy. Users worldwide could view, rate, and comment on anyone brave enough to share their embarrassing moments. The SingStore allowed for users to purchase and download individual songs or song packs for use in-game. While Europe did get favoritism in this part, there was enough songs for everyone to find the genre they were interested in most. On launch, the SingStore included 41 songs with a number from the PS2 back catalog. Not every music video was available in high definition, but those that were looked incredible. In comparison to previous SingStar games on the PlayStation 2, SingStar on the PlayStation 3 features the ability to remove vocals, and it attempts to do this digitally. The technology isn't perfect and won't work on some songs depending on how they were mixed during recording. Using Remote Play, owners of a PlayStation Portable or later a PlayStation Vita could create setlists to keep the party going. But one of the coolest features about all of the SingStar games on the PlayStation 3, much like the PlayStation 2, was the ability to not only swap discs with other PS3 SingStar titles, but also with any of the PlayStation 2 discs, even if the PlayStation 3 console itself wasn't backward compatible. All a user needs to do is start the game with a PS3 disc, click on the swap option, and insert the new disc of their choice. In 2007, a new self-titled SingStar game would grace the PlayStation 3, but North America wouldn't see the game until 2008. Despite being shown in the intro video on the PlayStation 3 release, wireless microphones never released with the game's launch. There were issues running 2 Bluetooth microphones, so wired microphones were bundled in with the launch, and the issue would later be resolved with a USB receiver, dropping the Bluetooth connection altogether. Ultimately, it wouldn't be until 2009 that Europe would have this brand new and exclusive wireless freedom of performing. Despite endless pleas for Sony to bring over the wireless mics in North America, it never happened. However, these microphones are compatible for any region and can be imported. SingStar would be followed up with SingStar Volume 2, and in Europe, SingStar Volume 3 and SingStar Pop Edition were quick to arrive. In the 2000s, Guitar Hero and Rock Band were on top of the world. Their success brought in plenty of spin-offs, most focused on a single band. Guitar Hero started this trend in 2008 with Guitar Hero Aerosmith, and it wasn't long until SingStar followed with SingStar ABBA in 2008 and SingStar Queen in 2009. Both were not only for the PlayStation 3 but also the PlayStation 2. Other regions would see releases like SingStar Take That, SingStar Motown, SingStar Vasco, and SingStar Meccano. SingStar would also start to expand the way players could interact with the game. Perhaps in response to the overwhelming popularity of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, SingStar expanded into the realm of plastic guitars. SingStar Guitar would only be released overseas, but DLC in North America would see the option to buy the guitar add-on for select songs. The game was never bundled with any guitar and relied on its users to already have them. Thankfully, the game still focused on karaoke. Ultimately, it was a cheaper, basic version of what you would see in Guitar Hero or Rock Band, but the ability to bring more people in who might not be comfortable singing in a group was greatly important. To promote the PlayStation Move, Sony would combine SingStar with the success of the Wii's Just Dance for SingStar Dance in 2010. Players could not only sing as usual, but now have the option to use the PlayStation Move controller and the PlayStation Eye to mimic on-screen commands to dance. Certain disc and DLC songs now had an option for users to purchase a dance add-on. While the attempt to capitalize on Just Dance was decent, SingStar Dance needed tons of improvement. SingStar Dance would lead to the much more improved and excellent spin-off of Everybody Dance, also known as Dance Star Party in Europe. Developed by London Studio and released exclusively for the PlayStation 3 Move in 2011, this series would receive 2 follow-up sequels. SingStar would return to the 80s with a follow-up to the PlayStation 2 hit called SingStar Back to the 80s. Like most SingStar titles, this wouldn't come to North America. It's also one of the last mainline SingStar games to be released only on the PlayStation 3. In 2012, Sony would release a free-to-play version of SingStar on the PlayStation Store for download. The game acted as a shell for users to fill up with purchased DLC songs. Any PS3 or PS2 disc could be used within this version, and the ability to swap discs remained. If you lived in Europe and had a PS3, many felt the pain of having the SingStar application stuck on the XMB, and no matter what, for years it could not be deleted. Likely in response to the focus on the free-to-play version of SingStar, Sony shut down all PS3 disc-based SingStar games in October of 2014. The PlayStation 3 era of SingStar was completely experimental for the series. The addition of online capabilities allowed for social interaction across the world, and downloadable content tried to keep the game afloat between major releases. It's also an era that tried to open itself up to a wider audience of those who like Guitar Hero, Rock Band, and Just Dance games. Did they necessarily work? Maybe not, but since they didn't overshadow what SingStar is about, it's simply a blip in the series. While SingStar would continue to shine its light, the PlayStation 4 would begin the downfall of one of PlayStation's most popular series. After a severely rough start on the market, the PlayStation 3 would emerge successful by the end of its lifetime, and in November 2013, Sony would release the PlayStation 4 to incredible success. SingStar finally arrived onto the PlayStation 4 in 2014 with the same free-to-play model introduced on the PlayStation 3. Sony would push the introduction of a free SingStar companion app that transforms the user's smartphone or tablet into a microphone that's still available for download today. The app can also easily create setlists to play, similar to the PSP and Vita functionality for the PlayStation 3. Physical SingStar microphones could still be used, but by that point were long out of production. This new app even worked on the PS3's free-to-play version of SingStar. Like the jump from the PlayStation 2 to the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4 once again redesigned SingStar. Gone was the curved design of the logo and the game's sleek presentation. SingStar became much boxier and more simplistic in its design, both in its new logo and its menu system. Social connectivity was still important, with the ability to easily share on Facebook and Twitter, especially those brave enough to film with the PlayStation camera. DLC purchased from the PlayStation 3 could easily be found in the user's library for download, but sadly, certain songs never made the jump from the PS3, and ultimately, the jump to the PlayStation 4 was a rough one. One of the series' most impressive features, the ability to swap discs, was no longer available, and the game didn't launch with much-loved multiplayer features presented in every SingStar release previously. In fact, the game launched with many issues, many that were fixed in 2015 thanks to community feedback. Menus were now easier to navigate, additional color added in some vibrancy, and those multiplayer features returned in an all-new party mode, as well as a challenge mode to beat the scores of online friends. The first physical SingStar game for the PlayStation 4 would launch in Europe in 2014 with SingStar Ultimate Party alongside a version for the PlayStation 3, one of the last for the console. In 2017, Sony introduced PlayLink for PlayStation 4. These games were for a casual type of gamer, typically for social gatherings. Multiple controllers weren't required, and instead each playing user simply needed to download the respective app on their mobile device. SingStar was already ahead of PlayLink. Years prior, SingStar already introduced their microphone app, but the app's icon would be revived with a Playlink banner to tie in with the release of SingStar Celebration. Celebration would be the first physical release for SingStar in North America and the final physical SingStar release ever. Playlink was like this one final push for the series to see if the casual crowd that made the series successful was still there. Ultimately, Playlink was the final nail in the coffin, and the Playlink series was quietly abandoned after 2 years of games. After the release of SingStar Celebration, no further mainline SingStar titles ever came out, and the SingStore continued to dry up on new DLC. On January 31st, 2020, server shutdowns for all remaining SingStar releases on the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 would happen. Songs could no longer be purchased from the SingStore, and all DLC songs would be removed from the PlayStation Store. Users could no longer share footage to the community, nor view footage shared by others. The free-to-play game itself was delisted from storefronts, and the infamous SingStar app on the PS3's XMB in Europe was finally removed. SingStar was dead. Do know that if you own any version of SingStar on the PlayStation 3, know that any purchased DLC cannot be downloaded again, meaning that if you somehow lose the data, it's erased or deleted, or a technical malfunction happens, you've lost out on everything. PlayStation 4 owners are able to re-download DLC without issue, but any songs that were exclusive to the PlayStation 3 SingStore are gone forever. SingStar developers London Studio moved on with PlayStation VR development with PlayStation VR Worlds and Blood and Truth. The studio is currently developing an ambitious, brand new IP set in modern-day fantasy London. Not much is said at the moment, but it isn't a VR title and will appear on the PlayStation 5 as an online multiplayer game. I can easily remember how I got into SingStar. It was August of 2007 and I was about to enter 6th grade and I had just got my very first console, the PlayStation 2. That summer I went to camp for a week, and the camp I would go to always had a winter reunion taking place during winter break for a weekend. We would split up into the activities we wanted to do, and surprisingly one of them was karaoke. One of the counselors must have brought in their PlayStation 2 because they had that, SingStar Pop, 80s and 90s to pick from. I remember just being mesmerized by SingStar. It was incredible for me to see those songs and their official music videos being played on screen. Now there was no way I was going to get up and sing, but I did try for a song I didn't like, and it was randomly chosen with a partner I wasn't a fan of, and it was a horrible experience, but it didn't stop me from wanting the game. I begged and begged my mother for SingStar, and we finally bought a brand new copy of SingStar 90s bundled with the microphones, and a lot of the other games we would purchase used from GameStop. In those early years, I may not have actually sung like the game wanted me to, but I always liked to plug in the microphones and just let the music videos play. SingStar was one of the music games that really opened my eyes to all of these music artists and their songs. It happened at a time when I was starting to get into music and getting CDs from real music artists rather than movie soundtracks. It was an incredible experience of discovery, and I will always thank SingStar for those memories and helping me shape myself into the person I am today. While I would love to see more SingStar, it's clear the future of SingStar is non-existent. The PlayStation 5 will never see a new SingStar title grace its console. But for as long as SingStar did last, it made an impact as one of the greatest karaoke games out there and became one of PlayStation's most successful franchises. Like anything else, gaming is always changing. What people are into at one point changes with the next. There's always a possibility for Sony to plunge back into the world of karaoke, but their focus on AAA games today tend to speak for itself, let alone if Sony are willing to once again pay for the licensing for all the songs. Would you like to see SingStar make a big return, or do you think this series has had its run? What's your favorite SingStar memory? Let me know in the comments below. Please be sure to like and subscribe for future content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.